Animal Crossing.
No, it's yeah. Oh, sorry.
Cheesy tune played on the trumpet. Anyway.
That's funny. Very good. Very good. Cool. So we are live. Thanks everybody for joining another episode of the OpenJS Foundation's Cross-Project Council meeting. Today is the last Tuesday of March in the year 2021. We're working off of issue 737. I see another attendee waiting. Oh, I will, unless maybe he was already promoted because I saw him on the list. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Don't forget to add your name to the doc, which I will paste in there, and help take notes. We've got a small crew today. Hustle through the agenda and then see what happens from there. Do we have any announcements? Start there.
We've got a few. Tomorrow, as an FYI, this will be super fun. The WebDriver IO team is going to do one of our Q&A sessions. We can't call it AMA because AMAs that's a trademarked term, apparently, AMA. So
is that true?
That's true. Reddit has a trademark on AMA or Ask Me Anything. So we have Q&A session. We've rebranded Q&A session. And with the WebDriver IO team, they've got some exciting announcements. It's tomorrow, Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. And so we'd love for you to join in, listen, and ask questions and that kind of thing. Other exciting announcements, we want to say congratulations to NVM on their latest release. Good job, Jordan. And then we also announced some exciting discounts on the new Node training and certifications. Well, they're not new, but there's some new features to that platform. And to celebrate, we've got some pretty deep discounts on the certification training materials and tests. And check that out if you are so down.
Yeah, and to add to that, they have a bunch of free tickets to the environment to kind of try it out and get used to it before you actually do your training, which I think was a learning from people's experience, their suggestions. So definitely check that out.
Yep. Let's see. Other sort of general stuff, we're really plowing forward on our plan to announce OpenJS World Speakers really soon. So that should happen sometime next week. We're really excited about the talks we have so far. And so just a reminder to register for the event if you haven't already. That's on June 2nd. And I feel like there was something else. We had a book club, and the book club was really fun. And I'm only saying that because there were people that said they were going to come to book club and they didn't make it. And I'm not saying who that is, but I'm looking at you in my Zoom chat. We'd love to do that again. So please come on over to our Slack channel.
Wait, who was that apologizing? Because I think that was supposed to be me too.
That was definitely directed at Toby. I wasn't going to call it out. So. But
I'm glad someone else apologized for me.
As long as there's more than one of us, I think we're in the clear. So
we're looking for the next. We're looking for the next book is like kind of the thing, and we're sort of chatting about that.
Sorry.
Jokes today. So that's all the announcements I have. The end.
Cool. I dropped a link to the Node.js tweet about the certifications and stuff too. If anybody wants to help promote it or just find out more information, it's a tweet thread. So there are a few links in there for. Oh no, that's not the tweet thread. That's a different one. But that's still, I think, the right tweet, right? Yeah, about the trainings. I guess I will say, because I just confused myself, that there is the Node survey is happening. I think it's still happening. I think it's still, open. So, the first 10 years were pretty good, and we're looking for the next 10 years. And there's a group of us who are trying to plot that out, figure out what's important, and stakeholders and constituencies, priorities, things like that. So if anybody has any input on that, any thoughts about that, feel free to take the survey here in this group, or anybody watching live, check it out. So that's another announcement. Cool. With that, we can jump into the agenda, I suppose. Was there any sorry, that was a bad page reload. Is there anything from the board? I mean, I guess there's nobody here from the board, but I don't know if there was a meeting last week.
There was a meeting on Friday. Obviously, our two CPC board director reps are not present today, so we'll have to get an update from them next time.
Sounds good. All right, cool. So if we are to jump into the agenda, the first issue is actually from the Summit repo, issue 306. I think that this was maybe talked about a couple of weeks ago. And I commented here, but I wasn't in that meeting, so I don't know the conversation, but I grabbed from the notes to drop it in there because we were talking about it in the Node.js tooling meeting. Jory, you ran it last time. Do you have anything to share on that front?
Yeah, so in our last meeting, after the discussion with the group president, it became pretty clear there was consensus for us to not plan on running any kind of conjoined event with the June 2nd OpenJS World, and instead sort of keep the conversation open for potentially doing something else in the fall. There are a couple of LF events that are more general, like Open Source Summit North America and that kind of thing that are still on for in person. And there was a conversation about whether that's something we might want to arrange, like a meetup there, if there were going to be a chunk of folks who would be planning to attend one of those events. But effectively, I think our group agreed last week, without necessarily memorializing this anywhere, that we wouldn't do it with OpenJS World on June 2nd. So not sure what we need to do to sort of update this ticket. Probably just maybe comment as such that we're keeping the option open for something in the fall that could be in person, but
Yeah, we can comment on the issue and just maybe keep it in mind. In the tooling group, we were thinking we might do something in the fall, but I don't know if we were thinking in person or just online. And I wonder, I think that the Collab Summit is a great thing. The in-person ones were really effective. The virtual ones, perhaps less so, but maybe that just presents an opportunity to figure out different ways to approach it. And I'm even wondering if it should just be more, focused one-day things with each group. Like the tooling group could just, plan their own dang summit online for now, and spend a day working on stuff. But anyway, it's something I'm thinking about, but I don't really have any actions or direction either.
could be an
So cool.
interesting thing for just putting this in our in a future pocket, like an interesting discussion to have at one of our working group sessions. Like if we were to take a topic of, let's reimagine collab summits in a post-COVID world, what does that look like? That could be interesting.
Yeah. I agree. Cool. I had another thought, but I think I just lost it, so it doesn't matter. Cool. All right. Well, we'll just kind of leave that where it is for now. And at some point we can take the agenda label of it, but something to think about. Next on today's agenda, private Slack channel for Node.js build team machine management. closed since answered. Well, no, closing since answered was not actually closed. So I will close this issue. But looks like everything is sorted there, so that seems fine. Cool. Closing that issue. Moving on. This is actually the thing that I was thinking about and then lost it. Travel fund allocation for 2021. I don't know if this was discussed last
We did
week.
discuss that last time.
Okay.
What Michael shared with us was this had been brought to the attention of the board that had to do further discussing about it and come back to us.
Okay.
Or come back with some movement around it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The gist is that the travel fund was diminished. I don't want to be hyperbolic a lot. And the thinking is that traveling
By 2/3
might be, yeah, I was going to say drastic, but I don't want to be,
there was two comments that were made. One by me suggesting that the money saved that way should be reinvested in other related efforts such as diversity and inclusion, which are tightly related to this fund. And I think Tyranny brought up the fact that many people had complained that in the rest of the world, people were actually traveling now or were able to. And so it felt very American, well, Western centric to have that perception.
Yeah. And also, who knows, we're not even halfway through the year. Things are generally improving. Will there be more travel in the second half of the year? You know what I mean?
It depends on what continent you're in, but definitely I'm hearing really good things from North America right now. Less so from Europe, honestly. I don't know about
well,
the rest
they're
of the
warning
world.
about a fourth wave here, so we'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, I guess there's not much to take from there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, for what it's worth, at Microsoft, we still have no travel, no participation in online events worldwide. Just as show of kind of respect of how things are going in other countries. So we don't want to start doing things in the US if things improve, if in other countries are not doing okay. I think so. We are in a no travel situation for now.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good perspective. Thank you.
And I can report that this is under discussion with the board committees, but I'm not sure what the exact status is, other than to say they were keen and happy to take it up and figure something out. So.
Yeah, the response seemed to be rather positive. That was my understanding too. I'm sorry if that didn't come out in my summary.
Cool. Well, we will defer this issue till next time and see if there's any sort of updates. Moving on, this is issue 711. This is renaming master branches. I think that the rename has largely happened. And if I remember correctly, scrolling down, suggestion to email folks, I'm pretty sure I saw that email go out. Confirm that for me, Jory.
Yep, I did.
Great. So do we think, I mean, I guess we can check off the standard communication channels, encourage other folks, possibly create a dedicated place, which I think we decided would just be the infra channel, and eventually address issues uncovered by projects implementing this change, which I think is, if you say eventually, then maybe that just needs to be a new issue if things come up, or multiple things. Does that seem fair? We can check all the boxes on this issue description and then call this done.
Yeah, I think so. I'm wondering how to handle issues like this. We would sort of want to have a look in, maybe like 3-month or quarter or like something to just check that we can actually really close this and there's like no pending issues and like pound infra. I don't really know how to handle this. I mean, we can just close it and say it's a day, or we can sort of like set ourselves a reminder to actually really close it in a little while. I don't know what you all think about this.
I'm wondering if anybody has started any kind of like tracking, right? Like we have a finite number of projects. It would be, probably a 45-minute task to look at all the different project orgs we have and see which ones have updated their.
Oh, it's a nice little script.
45-minute task-ish. So.
Yeah, or 5 hours writing a script.
Right.
Your pick.
5 hours updating Ruby this morning.
And that's why I stopped using Ruby. It's a good question. What I've seen in the node space is that a lot of projects have switched, but some haven't, and that's because of infrastructure and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know.
Do we have a list of the orgs of every OpenJS Foundation project?
Someone does.
Okay, if you share that with me, I will write the script.
Great. Michael has
talking about making this. Sorry, we're not talking about making this mandatory, right? This is just we're
to
encouraging
an audit. To see who has, and if there's per chance somebody's stuck on something or whatever.
Right.
Not it.
Cool.
That's the fact that you bring that up, Jordan, makes me think that this is. Would it feel like this?
Yeah, NVM is still called master because I don't want to ping 300 pull requests with an update and so on, and like have a bunch of in-flight maintainers or contributors having to like update their local repos. At some point, I will want to change it, but like that's the only reason I haven't bothered. And if NVM kept popping up in a list of projects that haven't done something yet, then that feels a bit shaming / coercive.
Right. That was my question. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to actually ask whether the project that you were responsible for had done it.
Oh yeah. I'm happy to use that.
Yeah. No, sorry. Like I didn't really, no, it just like just the way you brought it up felt, this can feel that way. And I actually do want to take a step back if I think that feedback is valuable and important, and I do want to step back and doing like a fun 3-hour script exercise that potentially has human downsides feels like a different project suddenly. So I think this is an important point.
Well, I more think that the thing that's useful is making sure every Foundation project maintainer is aware of the desire for the shift, if necessary, is informed of the reasons why it's important, and if their reasons for pushback are non-pragmatic or technical in nature, then to avoid potential turbulence around those topics, it's probably worth arranging private discussions to educate those maintainers. We're unrelated to whether they actually make the change or not. But once someone is informed and philosophically aligned, if there remain technical barriers, then it seems like it's just up to them, and there's nothing the Foundation has to or should do to accelerate that, unless they ask for the help, of course. That's just sort of the general place I'm coming from. I don't know if everyone agrees.
At least it's very clearly and well articulated, and I think it's important to hear that. Thank you.
It looks like Node, I need to go through this whole issue, but it looks like, there are some issues and also some folks who are just not into it. But I went there partially, Toby, because Michael wrote a script that will go through all the repos in an org and check the branches. So I thought if you were going to write something, that might be either useful or it might already be written, depending on
Awesome.
how far you were going to go. I don't know. So that last thing I posted was Michael's comment, which has the script in it. Cool. All right, so we'll leave this one for now. I will close this our issue though, and or do we think we should leave this open for now? I'm torn.
We should close it. I mean, we've accomplished the tasks that we outlined in that specific issue, and folks here have raised great points about other additional steps to take right at this moment. I think we could possibly close it and find other things to support on this.
Oops, I commented without closing. There we go. Cool. So that one's closed. Next up is issue 699. This is the DNI improving diversity and inclusion issue. I'm not sure what we have for updates on this. Toby, do you have any thoughts? Jory?
Well, I can speak to a very specific subcomponent of this project, which is that the last couple of working group meetings now for the CPC, we've tackled a specific set of changes that we want to propose to the CPC for the code of conduct and handling code of conduct reports. That task is currently with Sarah, Divi, and myself to memorialize some of the working groups consensus agreement in their working session on what the proposal should look like. That's in review, should go to the COC working group team. Those folks have been brainstorming on this this week. We'll have a follow-up meeting to discuss and then bring that to a CPC for discussion and hopeful ratification. So that, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that we've been doing two separate things in the working sessions, and I can see how the code of conduct and moderation work sort of could apply to the DNI effort, but I've been thinking about them differently. So I don't, I mean, separately, I should say. Thank you for that update. But there is there any sort of updates on the DNI work that we were doing?
Yes, I will take the action item to organize a meeting with folks that were interested in order to discuss the survey that we want to do and see how to move forward with that. We've discussed a number of different options around this and are well, still looking at like different options. And as a second part to that, I'm also going to organize a meeting with folks at the W3C who are interested about this issue too, and looking at also working on a survey to see how we can synergize these two organizations wanting essentially to do the same work.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you.
So essentially,
we'll do like.
No, sorry, please.
No, I was just going to say we'll try to pull a meeting together that's a non-working session meeting. Just sort of we'll figure out a time to get together. Definitely let me know.
Yeah, I'll set that up and share it in Slack.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Jory. Or should I say, Jory? I see your exclamation point. Yeah. Sorry. Cool. Last issue on the agenda is this DCO CLA stuff. Jory, I don't know if this was talked about last week or if there's any sort of update here. I know we were kind of waiting on something.
It was. So just and I think Brian updated the issue with the latest. So as an FYI, Brian Warner has been working with the ProBot DCO folks to implement some changes and some features to ProBot DCL that will work more fluidly with our systems. And they've been making some progress, but running into little minor issues here and there that's slowing things down. Obviously, the ProBot DCO team is it's an open source project, and they all have other jobs and that sort of thing. So there's no timetable exactly, but we are making progress and hope to have it soon enough. As a reminder, our projects are able to use whatever DCO or CLA tool they use a DCO or CLA if they like, or nothing. And there's a couple options for each. So these are just options.
Cool. Great. That concludes our agenda, doesn't it? I guess the one thing that we should address is next week's working session. I don't know if we are doing COC stuff there, moderation. Jory, you've got comments?
Yes, I have comments. I have thoughts. I think it'd be great if we could maybe plan a couple of weeks of working group meetings out in a bit of an advance, because we've got so many different things we want to make progress on. We have tech strategy work that I think would be dope. We've got Jslandia stuff that would be dope. We've got obviously the DEI and the COC stuff. There's a ton. And I think what's working well at the moment is for kind of like the more general group of CPC attendees to come into the working session, have a great brainstorm or kind of proposal / idea generation process in our working group, and then spin smaller teams of 2 or 3 folks out to go build the thing that the working group sort of consensed upon. Sure, that's a word.
I like that.
Yeah. And then bring that back. And so I think that lets us kind of free up working group meetings instead of, say, dedicate like 3 months in a row just to one issue, which may not interest everybody. So
yeah, that makes sense. So what do you have a sense of what we should work on next? And it sounds to me like you're saying we should plan to kind of alternate's not the right word, but just have action items out of each one, and then can kind of rotate them more and have progress come through.
Yeah. And I think it'd be cool. Like, so we know, because we're good at calendars.
It's our speciality.
We're so not good at calendars. But we know that, like, on the 6th, so that's next week, and on the 20th, we can kind of pick a couple of topics for, say, April, May, for let's work on tech strategy. Let's work on the April 6th meeting, or let's work on.
So one thought that's coming to mind, and anybody feel to interject if they have something they want to add here, but maybe we should have an issue for each of these, like we have for the DNI one. And if we have some work that a small group can go and do, they could report it back to the CPC meeting, because like today we probably have a good 20 minutes left over. That could be a good chunk of time for an update on any of that sort of work. So we could have a meeting, focus on it, figure out what the action items are. People can go off and do them, and then we could report back to the CPC meeting on any progress there if we wanted. So, I mean, that makes sense to me, Jory, and everyone. What do we want to pick something to pick up next, or do we think that we need to touch on something that we're already working on for next week?
I don't want to over-engineer it. Well, I was going to say that I think Jslandia hasn't been discussed in a while, and it might be good to talk about it and not lose it. I don't want to over-engineer it, but maybe having a rotation would be good, kind of like what Jory said. Or maybe these things need to spin off into their own working groups, and we can, I don't know. Now I'm over-engineering again. I was just going to nominate Jslandia for next Tuesday. Maybe that's enough.
So I agree with you on both of those. I think Jslandia would be good for next week, partially thinking about the upcoming event and just making sure that we're ahead of the game and can, maximize any sort of promotion, but also fun. We can have fun with it and do fun things and whatnot. I do think that maybe some of these things would not be bad to have its own meeting, like Toby had mentioned earlier, the DEI work. Maybe that just kind of has its own meeting and we sort of work through that with that cadence. Those are my two thoughts.
I'd be down for doing Jslandia next week because one of the kind of foundation to-dos is a MVP of like the passports. And I'm confident we will have something to show you next week. And we can brainstorm on that, and
cool.
It sounds fun.
Great. Does somebody want to take the action item of like creating an issue and throwing maybe a couple of agenda items in that or something? Things that we would expect to discuss or work on?
Sure.
Great. Do we also want to plan for the working session beyond that?
Yes.
Okay. You had mentioned tech strategy.
Yes, that's what I would like to do next after.
Okay. Sold.
What is that even?
So just because this is sort of like a what's the word I want to use? I said a hangover discussion, but that sounds like it's been drinking a lot, and that's not the case.
Carryover.
Carryover.
This
yes.
is sidetracking really badly. Whatever that is.
I know. I apologize. So a carryover conversation that I think we've been having since off and on since before the merger, which is like, how do we think about telling the story of like the technologies in our foundation? How do we think about like catering to and describing perhaps the types of projects that are going to be a great fit for the foundation, that kind of thing. And it's always one that we kind of hit when we get a new project application. And we kind of go, oh, well, this, we've got this rubric, but there's also an element of like feeling to it. And I think it'd be great to maybe define that a little bit further. That's something that I know Robin would value too.
That makes a bunch of sense.
It makes sense, but it also makes me wonder, like, are there tech strategy reasons that we would not accept a project? I mean, I guess this would be what we would discuss.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think
save that thought for later, Joe.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm game. This makes sense to me, and I think it kind of raises some questions for me. Cool. It sounds to me, and I don't want to voluntold you, Jory, but it sounds to me like you've got some thoughts on this. So would you like to create that issue as well? And
I like making issues for people.
That's,
calendars
and issues. That's what we're good at. Yeah.
Good at that.
Yeah.
If I may, if you're in the calendar and issue space, I actually think that what we have for AMP that I don't know where it comes from. I wonder if it doesn't come from here actually. Works really well. Like one issue was all of the meetings that we're going to have planned and the topics that are going to be discussed. And
are you for real right now?
Yeah, of course I am.
Of course you are. Yeah, god damn it. But yeah, that's a good idea. It's like I've
It is,
seen
right?
that before somewhere. I don't know.
It comes from here, doesn't it?
I don't know. It's from AMP, I thought. Are you talking about doing the thing that I did for the AMP thing? With that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But that doesn't, yeah, regardless, I don't know where it comes from. It's just
Dory
like it
did
works
that.
really well. It's very useful. I like it. I want more of that and everything that is involved with.
Okay, I'll actually, sure. Yes, I'll take some time. I'll do that.
I'm glad that that they pay you, Jory. So thank you, but also I'm glad about that. Let me know how I can help too. Consider me a resource. You know where to find me.
Got it.
Cool. So that's like 2 working sessions we're thinking about. Is that good enough for now? And the DEI stuff will spin off into a separate meeting, its own meeting. And then we'll just see in terms of the COC and moderation work. We'll wait for more progress there, and then go from there. I'm letting someone into the meeting, Paris Lucas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. That sounds good.
Okay. All right. So good. That's 4 things. That's great. Nice. Cool. What else do we want to talk about today? Anything? Sorry, Paris, you joined right as we were kind of
Right at the end.
reaching the end of our business. Cool.
No, I can't think of anything. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We should, one thing that comes to mind is like incubating. I know we have a couple of projects there, right? We
do. Yeah. Divya and I are going to talk to one of our incubating projects, NativeScript, next week. They have a bunch of cool stuff coming up that they're going to be announcing. And so they've been busy, but that's a hot potato. And then other stuff that's just, heads up and FYI, the standards working group has, after talking to a whole bunch of projects and evaluating all of the options at our last meeting, we elected to focus on 2 strategies. The first one being the educational resources and curation for people who are hoping to onboard into what Mike Champion has coined standards culture, which I think is like, mwah, it's a great term. So we're looking for resources right now to consider as part of that sort of set of curated materials. And that's an issue on the standards repository and also in the Slack. So if you have some stuff that you like, please share it there. And then the second strategy is on discussing and providing more of a community forum for understanding, providing feedback and that sort of thing on would-be proposals at TC39 or within the WICG or what WG. So we're also going to be brainstorming how to tackle that process. And if you're interested in that, join us.
Cool. I'm reminded of a potential calendar conflict for next week. Is that right?
Yes, it looks like we do have a conflict for the standards working group and the CPC working meeting. So we will adjust in our standard Slack group. We'll adjust, I'm sure.
I see Sarah has gone off video, but I wondered if we should double back on any of the board related stuff, if there were any updates or anything to talk about there.
I've turned on the video and kept the mic muted. Yeah, I see Michael isn't here today. So what I can share is, we had our board meeting last week. I thought there was a lot of really interesting stuff shared by Rachel around growth with our newsletter, growth of the newsletter.
Oh, did we lose you, Sarah? You froze. You can turn off video if you want.
Exciting news. Other board related, I don't think there's any other board related news that we haven't shared here. Just the summit approaching and planning for the summit and things like that.
The OpenJS World event?
Yes.
Great. And then I don't know if there was any takeaways from anything regarding the travel fund. I know we kind of touched on it briefly before you got here, but if there's anything to share there, let me know.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything officially decided to share there yet, but I'll follow up at next meeting.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you. Great. Yeah, Rachel, we touched on some announcements earlier that are in the notes, but if you have anything you want to add before we wrap up, just let me know.
I only had the 3. Congrats to NVM on their release. We have a webinar or a Q&A tomorrow with WebDriver. And node certification and training, big sale. Those were the 3 things that I had.
Great. Yep,
Yeah.
That's what we talked about earlier.
Okay.
So good.
Excellent.
Great. All right. Well, I can give everybody back 10 minutes if they'd like, and we can call it a wrap. Cool. That's the sound. All right. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Bye, all.